doing all kinds of different operations. What kind of stuff were you doing over there other than regular diplomatic security?
All the time. I mean, and a lot of this is depending on what you want to do. You know, my thing is getting out and meeting the people. I want to know atmospherics. I want to know patterns of life of people, of the average citizen, because if I can see that, then I can see the anomalies to it when it's something else, whether it's during the day, during at night. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. It was an open source statement or rule that we're always looking for Stinger missiles or surface to air missiles. So we're always looking for that. There's a lot of different groups in Benghazi. When you talk about Libya as a whole, as most countries over there, it's the country itself is not a true depiction, at least the way most people perceive a country here in America, is not a true depiction of what's life like there. Eastern Libya was different than Western Libya, two different tribes. Mm-hmm. In the south, you had the Tuaregs, which were all your gun runners. They don't get in politics. Leave me alone. We're just running freaking. They're the mafia of that part of the country or that part of the world. Running drugs, running anything. They're friends with whoever's paying them. But Western Libya, which is over in, as Tripoli, and that was a different tribe, and that was Gadaffi's tribe versus what was going on in Eastern Libya. Eastern Libya was, Derna, and that's where a lot of the training camps were that were training out in the desert, training foreign fighters to go fight and kill the Americans overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq. And that's kind of the backstory that has never been told, is why was Gadaffi going after them? Well, if you go back and look at history, it's because after we killed Saddam in Iraq, Gadaffi at that time was trying to take North with Africa into a gold standard, take them off the trading in the U.S. dollar for oil, and wanted to make his own kind of, instead of NATO, Muslim African currency and trading partners. Well, that didn't go well with us at the time, and he was allowing foreign fighters to be trained in Eastern Libya. And Gadaffi didn't care as long as he was getting the money from the oil. But what happened is Bush basically sent a little bird over to him and said, hey, you're next. If you were going to allow people to be trained to come over that are going into Afghanistan and Iraq and kill Americans, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. And we're going to kill you, or we're going to do what we did to Saddam to you. Well, Gadaffi, being the smart guy that he was, and I don't care what, I didn't like him, but he's a survivalist. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he went after the training camps, and he didn't like that tribe anyways because they were different than his. And that's what started those attacks. And they started over the years, and just became worse and worse until he had Benghazi surrounded in 2011. And that's when the cry went out. Now, what happened in America that was different? We had a change of leadership. Bush got elected out. Obama administration got elected in. Different philosophy, different way of dealing with that kind of stuff. And I think at the time, and this is the opinion of Mark Geist, but Hillary Clinton saw her chance to put together a coalition and go after the bad guy, because Gaddafi's been a bad guy to America ever since the Lockerbie, Scotland terrorist attack back in, when was Lockerbie? It was in the 1980s or 90s.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think 90s. And so he's always been a bad guy. So it's easy to make him a bad guy and go after him. Well, that's when Ambassador Stevens, before he was an ambassador, he was just a foreign service officer, in 2011 was pushed into Benghazi along with a team to put together the coalition of militias to fight against Gadaffi. And Hillary Clinton put the coalition of foreign countries, Germany, Italy, France, the U.S., and a few others, those were the big four, to get rid of Gadaffi. I was in Najaf at the time, and I remember seeing stuff or hearing that, I didn't see anything, I heard that Gaddafi's sons, this was in 2011, were in D.C. trying to negotiate with the U.S. to allow their father to exile to a third country. And what I was told is that Hillary Clinton said, no, we're going to kill him. So the whole thing of destabilizing that country came because somebody, in my opinion, again, Mark Geist's opinion, wanted to have a platform to run on in 2016 that said, look what I did. I overthrew this country. I put this coalition together, and we got rid of one of the worst bad guys in the world who happened to be doing what we wanted him to do at the time.
Well, that plan definitely went to shit.
Yeah, it did.
Hillary Clinton is one of the most disgusting human beings on the planet.
Very much so.
Always has been, always will be, and we'll be inserting clips on her response to Benghazi several times throughout the interview. You won't see it until it comes out, but I want to show who she is.
She's worse than her husband.
Yeah.
I mean, so to get back to, so Benghazi, if you look at it, it looked like the streets look like a wagon wheel or half a wagon wheel. You had the port at the center was the hub, and there was streets that came straight out from that were sort of like spokes, and then there was streets that would cross that, and it was first ring, second ring, third ring, fourth ring, and fifth ring, all the way out to sixth ring. That's the name of the streets. And that's how the city was kind of divided up. So if you could get on if you got on Fifth Ring Road, I could drive all the way from over the coast all the way over to the coast. Okay. So to speak. So it looked like a big half circle.
Gotcha.
And the consulate was on Fourth Ring Road. The backside was Fourth Ring. The annex was in between Fourth Ring and Fifth Ring, about halfway. We were about a mile away from the, as a crow flies, from the consulate. Okay. That kind of paints a picture of it. And there was probably 5 or 6 different militias that still operated in that area. I mean, one militia controlled the airport. So anything that went in and out of the airport got taxed by them. Another militia controlled the overland sea traffic, or the overland traffic. Another one controlled the seaport. Probably a week or so before 9/11, when the attack happened, there was a militia that came in and painted a bunch of cars to look like police cars and put their people in uniform and drove around being the police, extorting money out of the local citizens. And I mean, that's the nature of Benghazi. There was no government entities really. I mean, there were there, but they didn't operate with any control over anything or influence. It was all the militias and money. And the biggest one was February 17th Martyrs Brigade. And Feb 17 was also the one that was the umbrella of all the other militias to fight against Gadaffi. And they were quasi-friendly with us, as friendly as they could be. Though some of their fighters attacked the consulate as well. And just down, so you had the consulate, and it was a compound. It was actually 2 compounds that were put together. There were about 8 acres. The compound next to it was probably 3 or 4 acres, and the next one 3 or 4 acres, and then the third or fourth down from it was an Al-Qaeda safe house. And the road that ran in front of them all was called, what we called, at least through the State Department, called Consulate Road. That's their super secret name. Okay. And the road that was on would been the eastern side of it was what we called Adidas, because there was a shoe store over there. So it was easy. We called that one Adidas. The one on the opposite side, on the western side of the consulate, that would make that block was called Gunfighter, because some of our guys, we'd gotten into a gunfight there before. So that's kind of the layout. But the average person in Benghazi loved us. They were like, yeah, we're glad you got rid of Gadaffi, because Gadaffi was trying to, he didn't care that was a separate tribe. He was willing to kill them all.
Yeah.
Which was a bad thing, and should have been stopped, but he was still doing what we wanted him to do from the politics side of things.